Hey, it's Heather, and this is my 2022 highlights video. I shared a video of my mid-year update earlier, and so if you haven't seen that, I would recommend checking it out. But in this video, I kind of cover what happened in the rest of the year and my overall favorites. A couple of notable mentions to start with is live stream for the cure in May. That was amazing to be part of. We raised and exceeded the goal for the Cancer Research Institute. And that was a lot of fun. A huge thank you to Phil Rude, Chris Osborne, and Matt Demaz for joining me on stream, as well as, of course, the awesome Nicholas Haskins who organizes it. It was an amazing fundraiser to be part of, and I love being involved every year. Personally, for me, I began a new adventure this year. I did a lot of research in the beginning of 2022, and my project was finalized in April, and it's been an amazing journey so far. I've really been enjoying it. It's added a lot of work to my plate, and I also took on another business partnership, so that's been interesting to navigate, and here in 2023, hopefully that'll grow some more. My favorite nature connection of 2022 was that it snowed, and it hasn't snowed here for over 12 years, but it actually snow flurried and landed on your hair and on everything early in the morning, one morning, I think about in October, and I absolutely loved that. It was magical, I we don't live in snow all the time, so it is magical and it's a novelty. I'm sure if it snowed more often, the novelty would probably wear off, but it didn't. It was only around for a couple of hours, and I loved that, and it was just so nice to have snow. The last time it snowed here, I wasn't actually here for it, but I do have photographic evidence that there was snow on my house, and it was nice to be a part of it this time. But I leaned into my passion of reading from about June onwards. I read a lot all the time anyway. I love it. I've loved it since I was a child. I had stories read to me by my parents. I enjoyed language and writing and reading myself, and I was able to read from a very early age, which is a very handy skill to have. But I have collected a bunch of books over my lifetime, enjoyed them, and then decided I would actually keep better track of what I was reading because it was interesting, and I wanted to read 52 books for 2022, and I managed to, on the last 2 days of December, achieve that goal by listening to 2 audiobooks. So I included audiobooks in my count, but not the books that I read at the beginning of the year. So from June to December, I read 52 books or listened to them, and I'm really proud of that achievement, and it's exciting to see what books I read and why I picked those books. Some of them were recommended to me, which is always interesting to see what people recommend and whether you like it, especially the ones that have a lot of hype around them. I'm not on TikTok or anything like that, so I am behind the times in the social media realm of books, but I hear through the grapevine of some of the books that are available, like The Inheritance Games, which was hugely popular. I read that and really enjoyed it. It's one of those books I actually listened to as an audiobook, and it made it even better. So I can't wait for the next installment of that, which comes out in 2023. In 2022, I got into 2 main series. The first one being The Expanse, which I have loved the TV series of, and finally got around to reading the books, and it was just amazing to be able to hear the characters' voices as I was reading. I am up to book 4 of that series as of now. It kind of slowed down a little bit because not all of the stories are my favorite. The first book is fantastic, and then it's still good reading. And I've also been reading the short stories that are in Memories Legion, which is the book that kind of brings all of those short stories together. They fit in around the main stories themselves, and they're really worth checking out if you haven't. The other main series that I got into was Star Wars, and I started that out by watching all of the films, and I had a trial subscription to Disney Plus, which I really enjoyed, so I managed to get through a couple of the series. Not all of them, because I do not have that much time, and there is a plethora of content available. But after that, I realized, well, why haven't I been reading the Star Wars books? I love space opera. That is my favorite genre of book to read, and I had not got around to reading any of the Star Wars novels. So I went down that rabbit hole, and I tell you now, but you should know if you are a fan of Star Wars, that there are many, many books that have been published, and there are many, many more being published. It is hard to keep up and overwhelming to think of trying to catch up on all of the ones that have been published, but that's not my goal. I've set a goal of trying to get through as many of the canon books as I can, which is anything after Disney took over the Star Wars franchise. And then I've got more selective books from the Legends that I'd like to read. Some have been highly recommended from booktube channels that I've been watching and enjoying, but others are the Essentials Legends collection. So they've basically picked out legends that are important to read, and they're rebranding them, of course, to give them new covers and drum up all the enjoyment and purchasing of them. But for myself, I'm actually collecting the books that are the older cover versions, which is getting harder and harder to do because they're going out of print with the rebrand. So, yeah, I enjoy those, and I've loved diving into the expanded universe of the Legends, but also reading things of the canon era and learning about things that happened hundreds of years before the films. So, they've very cleverly got a bunch of writers now writing about Star Wars universe, and it is amazing fun. It is so good, and I'm really enjoying it. With the books, when I was keeping track of them, I launched a Goodreads account, and Goodreads is something else. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's a dumpster fire, and in between you just make do. But it's been an amazing way of adding my books, which I already did on a different app anyway, but adding a bit of a social element to it and having the reading challenge there. And so I've set my reading challenge for 52 books again on Goodreads. I've made a bunch of friends through the book reading community on Instagram and Goodreads, which I enjoy. And I have added 525 of my books, I think, to my Goodreads. That's not all of them, but it's a fairly good start. I haven't read all of those books, but I will eventually. And luckily for me, I read really fast. It is something that is just easy. I'm able to read and understand what I'm reading really quickly, so I'm able to get through quite a lot. I also fill in time when I'm at appointments with reading, and I read at night or in the morning. So that's how I manage to do it. I can finish off a book of like 400 odd pages in a couple of hours, which is handy. And then I've read a bunch of short books, so I'm ahead of schedule for 2023 so far. On Instagram, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone over there that I've connected with. That's made the end of 2022 really nice. I really enjoy getting to know and see what other people are enjoying and share that kind of community around reading. It's amazing. So that's my highlights for 2022. Let me know if you've read any interesting books, whether you've come across any new authors or series, or you've finished series, or what your book goals are. I'd love to know. Let us know in the comments. For anything else from Geeks Rising, check out geeksrising.com. And until next time, be empowered by nature.